Ziggs got a buff this patch and he's absolutely cooking meal prep for all those LP gains. Sorry. The build is for Cyberboss and it's technically a slow 9, not a fast 9. Let me explain. This build requires you to go 9 as you need 4 Cyberboss. You need that Kobuko. However, Poppy is useless. So when you hit level 8, you stabilize with either 7 Street Demon or a Strategist build just until you have enough money to either find a Kobuko for the 4 Cyberboss or go level 9. In this video, we're going to break down the entire strategy for this build. Let's dive into it. Welcome. Another TFT breakdown. This time around, we're breaking down Ziggs Cyberboss Carry. We're going to go over a bunch of different aspects of this build, starting with final board and items. Then we're going to transition over to early game boards, level 8 boards, augments, and then we're going to go over the gameplay you're seeing on screen currently. So I'm not going to touch on the gameplay until we get to that last section, as the build is more important. I'm going to break down all the aspects of it with you here today. There's chapters at the bottom of the video if you want to skip ahead. If you don't want to go over the final board, let's say you know it already, and you just want to have a look at the early game boards, or you just want to watch the gameplay, you can always skip ahead. But sit back, grab your coffee, grab a drink if it's night, kick back, relax, and enjoy another TFT breakdown. Okay, welcome to the final board and items section of this video. We're going to start off with the final board just so you know exactly what you're leading towards when you're making this build work. So, your backline is going to be Veigar, Ziggs, and Brand. Those are your main carries with emphasis on Ziggs and Brand. If it's a high tempo game with a lot of loot, you can itemize Veigar as well. However, not necessary. Frontline is going to be Echo, Renekton, Poppy, Nico, Kobuko, and Gragas. Kobuko is going to be a massive carry as well once you have the items on Kobuko. We'll go over the items in a second. But then Nico's your main tank. With the buffs to Renekton, again, high tempo, high loot game, you can itemize Renekton as well. This final board is going to give you 4 Cyberboss. It'll give you 3 Strategists unless you have an emblem, 2 Divinicorp, and 3 Street Demon. The main damage dealers in this build is obviously Ziggs, as Ziggs got a bit of a buff, and obviously melts boards with the right composition, which in this case is 4 Cyberboss. Nico is your main tank, and for Nico items, we're going to start there. Nico likes Warmogs, Brambles, Gargoyles, Declaw, Ionic Spark, Crown Guard, typical tank items for Nico. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Moving on to Ziggs. Ziggs is going to be your main carry in this build. Ziggs likes Shojins as they want to cast a lot. Also likes JG and Flail's Striker. Striker's Flail, Guardbreaker, you know the item. Additional items, if you don't hit best in slot, you can do Void Staff, you can do Morello's, Red Buff, any kind of burn damage because of Ziggs' ult. The same goes for Brand. You can put those burn damage items on Brand, including Void Staff. However, for Ziggs, any of those AP items work. You can also even do Rabadons should you have some extra rods left over. Now, we just touched on Brand, so let's move over to Brand here. Brand is going to be your secondary AP carry. Just slam whatever extra AP items you have on Brand. Preferably some shred, like Void Staff, if you didn't already put it on Ziggs. You can do Morello's, another Shojins, if you can make another Shojins. And if you have Mana Zane, you'll notice in the gameplay video, I did get Mana Zane and put it on Ziggs. It's not the greatest on Ziggs. It works better on Brand. You can toss it on Brand and have Brand be the secondary damage dealer. Renekton, if you get to itemize Renekton, most of the games you won't. Just standard AD Bruiser items, so Sterix, Titans, you can even do Edge of Night, Hodge, BT, those standard items. QSS works well as well. And now finally, Kobuko. Kobuko's the big one because once you hit Kobuko and you stabilize that 4 Cyberboss board, this is where the build comes together and where you see the massive damage input. The items you're going to want on Kobuko are Warmogs, Crown Guard, Spark. Spark is the priority as Spark on Kobuko is insanity right now. So you're going to want to make sure you can put Spark on Kobuko. The other items are a little bit flexible, but Warmogs and Crown Guard are best in slot. Now, one thing to note with this final board configuration, 4 Cyberboss is the goal. So you don't need a 3-star your Veigar. Veigar is more of a trait bot in this situation, as your main damage dealers are going to be Ziggs, Brand, and Kobuko. However, like I mentioned before, if you end up naturally 3-starring your Veigar, you can itemize them. Mana Zane in this situation works really well on them. But then you can just either put Brand items on Veigar, or if it's a high tempo game, just itemize them over Renekton if you haven't hit Renekton yet. There's options depending on how the game goes. And that's it for the final board and item section. So again, Ziggs is your main carry. Kobuko does a lot of damage as well when itemized. Brand's your secondary AP carry. And Nico's your main tank. Okay, let's talk early game. Early game's fairly important here as you do want to go 9 as your end goal. Unless you get lucky with a Kobuko at level 8 and you can play the 4 Cyberboss. If that's not the case, which most of the time it won't be, You'll see in this gameplay here that it actually ends up being the case, but that is an outlier. You're never going to be able to find a Kobuko on level 8 consistently. So with the goal of going 9, you're going to need a stable early game. You're also going to need a stable level 8 board. And those are the two keys that we're going to be going over in this next section, starting with the early game. So for early game, there's a few options here. You can start off with Street Demon. Street Demon did get a little bit of a buff there. Some of the units like Zyra are a little bit stronger this patch. So you can start off with a Street Demon start and transition that Street Demon all the way into your level 8 board, having 7 Street Demon with maybe Ziggs on the side there. So that first option is 3 Street Demon, then you can maybe go 2 Techie there at your level 4 or level 5. However, a more consistent option is Anima Squad. Anima Squad is pretty strong here, especially early game. You can do a 2-star Seraphine, an Alawi, a Silas, pair that with a Shyvana, a Vi, any other Vanguard or Bastion available for the front line. This allows you to slam your Ziggs items onto Seraphine to stabilize that early game and ensure that you do enough damage to make it to level 9. An alternate route, if you get early Vhagar, you can go Vhagar. You put Vhagar in with Ziggs items as well, with a Poppy, a Shyvana, a Jax, have that Bastion up front, and then you could just build upon that with more Bastion, more Techie, until you ultimately transition into a Street Demon board late game. Now, the tricky part here is the Cyberboss trait. You don't want to go 3 Cyberboss. There's a really extensive guide that I took some inspiration from here. I've linked it in the description below. You can have a look at the strategies that they talk about as well in terms of going level 8 and transitioning to 4 Cyberboss, but their main point is that 3 Cyberboss is not the greatest. So instead of forcing 3 Cyberboss waiting for that Kobuko, try to go 7 Street Demon in the late game. 7 Street Demon is extremely strong right now. You need a brand in your board anyway. And this allows you to roll down for that Street Demon build at level 8 and stabilize yourself to go level 9. In the intro, I mentioned this is a slow 9 build, and this is what I mean by that. Having the ability to roll down and cap out your board at level 8 with various Street Demon units before transitioning to the final form of this build, it's an excellent problem to have, as you're able to hopefully 2-star that Nico, 2-star that brand, and it propels you into that level 9 area later in the game, maybe late stage 5, early stage 5, to add that 4 Cyberboss with Kobuko. So the full board you're going to want to go at level 8 for 7 Street Demon is Mundo, Zyra, Echo, Jinx, Rengar, Brand, Nico. If you find a Samira, you can replace the Samira with the Rengar and then eventually sell it when you get Kobuko in the late stages. And then you're going to pair that with Ziggs on the backline. You're rolling down at 8 a bit here, so hopefully you do find the Zigg. And that allows you to stabilize at level 8 with a fairly strong board. And then you just eco back up to level 9, roll down at 9 for that Kobuko, and then you can transition your board to include that 4 Cyberboss. This level 8 board is a little tricky because when you have 7 Street Demon, especially with the Samira, you can just go 7 Street Demon. It does fall off really late game, so I do recommend playing that and then transitioning at level 9 to the 4 Cyberboss Ziggs carry, as it has more of a higher cap with a 2-star Kobuko, 2-star Renekton. Now, a completely different option for you to go at level 8 to stabilize to level 9, and it's not as expensive as buying all those extra Street Demon units just for you to sell them, is just a 5 Strategist build. So you can have Nico up front with Shyvana, Echo, and Poppy. You're going to be using Nico and Poppy in the endgame anyway, along with Brand, LeBlanc, Yuumi, and Ziggs. A lot cheaper than the 7 Street Demon build, but it allows you the 5 Strategists to stabilize. Not as strong as Street Demon at level 8, but it provides you with enough oomph to get you to level 9. Ziggs is obviously Ziggs with the main items. Nico's your main tank. Brand's your secondary item holder. Mid game, you can have Yuumi holding your items before you get to level 8. Transition them over to Ziggs and or Brand once you find them. This specific level 8 build was courtesy of the same guide that I've linked below, so check that out if you want some more details from them specifically on their Twitter page. So those were the different early game options you can use to play this build, along with the level 8 builds that you can create to stabilize prior to going level 9. We already talked about the final board at level 9 for this build. Now let's talk about arguably one of the most important parts of getting you to level 9, the augment section. Okay, welcome to the augment section of this video. By this time in the set, you should know essentially what is considered S tier augments in general for you to use. However, for this build specifically, it is a slow / fast 9 build. So you are going to want as much econ as possible early game. So specifically with those encounters that provide you 2 early augments, so an additional one that gives you 4 total augments, you can double up on econ if the game provides it to you. So some specific options that you can do econ wise is Slamming, my personal favorite, gets you to a high level ASAP, and it lets you slam your items to prioritize that early game. Another one is expect the unexpected if you get a prismatic encounter. So the expect the unexpected allows for, most of the time, a crap ton of gold in the first 3 stages of the game. Then you can either take Upward Mobility, Cluttered Mind, Clear Mind, Hedge Fund, Invested Plus, any of those econ augments to allow you to get to level 9 in the late game. Another specific augment that is absolutely S tier for this build is high-end shopping. High-end shopping gives you the option of finding higher cost units at a lower level. So this allows you to stay at level 8 and potentially find that Kobuko with level 9 odds. This means you can just drop Renekton for now and have that final board be the 4 Cyberboss, 3 Street Demon, and Strategist. And then you start cooking the entire lobby a whole stage ahead because of this one augment. Trait-specific augments are Cower Weaklings and New High Score. These are perfect for Cyberboss, especially for Cyberboss, as they are augments tailored for Cyberboss specifically. Both of them are equally good and beneficial in this build. Some late game combat augments, especially in the prismatic tier, that you can take is Piercing Lotus and Blazing Soul. Both are really strong in this build as it amplifies your Ziggs and your Kobuko in the late game with some crit damage. That's the gist of it for augments. Essentially, econ early, maybe some items or double econ mid game, and then combat, especially in the prismatic section. You're going to want combat late game. And now let's dive into specifically the gameplay that you've been watching throughout this video and how I fared forcing this build the first time I heard about it. Okay, welcome to the gameplay section of this video. We're going to go over exactly what you've been watching this whole time as I rambled about the final board for Cyberboss, early game, all that good stuff. So this is more of the chill section of the video. We're going to go over my decisions from here on out, as well as some early game decisions, starting with augments. They're quick though. You notice that I hit a Kobuko at level 8. I did mention earlier in the video that is rarely going to happen. I had 31 health, so essentially it was my only hope here to hit that Kobuko. Otherwise, I would have transitioned into full Street Demon eventually. But hitting that Kobuko helped propel me through stage 4 here. You'll notice as we ramble throughout this gameplay video. Now, touching on augments, we just finished speaking about different augments, and the ones I've chosen weren't mentioned at all. So let's go over that really quickly. I did start the game with a Strategist emblem. As soon as I saw that emblem, I knew I wanted to try this build out, as I believe there was another Cypher player in this game. I can't remember specifically if there was or not. However, I think there was. So I didn't go the LeBlanc Draven build. I decided to try this build out and aim for the 4 Cyberboss. And that's why I took that Strategist emblem. It worked wonders because I was able to put it on my Kobuko here to help propel me through stage 4, along with that trench coat artifact item. And that was a fairly good augment choice at the start for myself. Now, hindsight, because of how low health I am, an econ augment would have been a lot better, as having an econ augment would have let me hopefully at this position go 9 and not have to rely on the luck of getting a Kobuko at level 8 and instead roll at 9 for that Kobuko to maximize this board. But every game's different. This one worked out in our favor here, as I ended up, like I mentioned, hitting that Kobuko at level 8. So hindsight, first augment should be econ to propel you to level 9. Binary airdrop is the prismatic that I took. I already had a combat augment, albeit not the greatest one, on the second augment. So I decided to go with binary because binary is just an S tier augment. Being able to have those extra items on your board, especially when you are kind of on the lower half of the ladder here in the late stage, it is so necessary. So by getting binary, between that and getting Kobuko, it propelled me through stage 4. And I think without either of those, specifically the Kobuko, I would have just bled out here. So it just goes to show you, if you are going this build, how important the 4 Cyberboss is. Having 3 Cyberboss is not going to cut it. It's not going to work, especially with Ziggs as your carry. So you do need that 4 Cyberboss. However, once you get 4 Cyberboss, that's a completely different story. This build is insanity. You're not going to play this build all the time. It's going to be tough to force it. There are a lot of different Fast 9 metas currently in this patch in 14.7. This is one of them, the 4 Cyberboss Kobuko Renekton. You can go the Boombot Urgot build. You can also still go that Divinicorp Garen Renekton build from my previous video. You can check that out as well. It is turning into, by the looks of it, a Fast 9 meta. So those are 3 options you can go if you have 1 or 2 econ augments early game to propel you to level 9. So here we do have 2 items on 4 of our champions to capitalize on that binary airdrop augment. It works out perfectly, like I mentioned, propels us through the stage 4. We are 2 lives currently, so it is a little bit risky. And at this point, we're doing our best just to kind of donkey roll to 2-star our board, because a 2-star Ziggs and 2-star Nico, which we already have, is paramount currently. We did hit the Sniper's Focus artifact item as well for Brand, which is fairly good. Manazane is better on Brand. I do get a Manazane here, you're going to notice, and I put it on Ziggs. Ziggs, it doesn't work as well as you would like it to work. It works a lot better on Brand, but because I had the Sniper's Focus on Brand already, I chose to put it on the Ziggs. We do, in this gameplay here, get a lot of bows. Allows us to make a red buff, I believe, for that burn damage. As I mentioned in the previous video, burn damage is fairly good on Brand or Ziggs as well, as it allows their ults to hit multiple enemies and burn multiple enemies at once. One thing I do notice here for this specific build is stage 4, if you hit the Cyberboss, the 4 Cyberboss, it's very strong. Stage 5, as long as you 2-star your backline, so like Ziggs Brand, you will beat majority of boards. What really caps you out here is that 2-star Kobuko. So that's why going 9 is fairly paramount. Going 9 is a necessity in terms of 2-starring your Kobuko and getting a 2-star Renekton. If you don't hit that, chances are you will bleed out. You'll be closer to a 4th, a 5th. You're playing for 3rd, 6th. Around that range, you're not going to expect to actually win the game. If you do 2-star your 2-5 costs, along with Nico, Brand, Ziggs, that's what caps you out for the win specifically. So you just have to kind of, as the game goes on, adjust to what the tempo is, what everybody else is playing, how they're playing it, how strong their boards are, and then you can make a calculated decision on whether or not you're going for the win, you're going for 2nd, 3rd, you're going for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and minimizing your losses at that point as well. If some boards are just absolutely obliterating everybody else, or there's a 3-star 4 cost. So every game's different. You just kind of got to decide on what route to go, how much you're going to roll save here. So even though we are at 2 lives, it is stage 5. So 2 lives with this board specifically is fairly strong, at least in my opinion. I have 2 losses to go. So I'm saving my gold here in the hopes of being able to go slow 9. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, going slow 9 in this build is a possibility. Instead of going the 7 Street Demon at 8 and saving our money, we hit the Kobuko, we go the 4 Cyberboss build, but then after rolling down and hitting what we needed to hit to stabilize, we save our gold to attempt to go level 9. So that in this gameplay here is the only difference from what I explained in terms of your level 8 boards earlier in the video. It is a variation because if you hit a Kobuko early, you can just go 4 Cyberboss and it does cap itself out. So with 2 lives in stage 5, you're able to make that decision to save your gold, as I was doing here, and hopefully go level 9 to get that Renekton in. And once we have that Renekton in, we essentially cap our board, hopefully with 2-star Kobuko, 2-star Renekton, and then it's just up to kind of fate at that point, that we don't run into a Mega Boombot Urgot build or a 3-star 4 cost, especially with 2 lives. So here I am completely out of removers. That was a big thing I noticed in this gameplay. Just a funny note is I was struggling the entire game with removers. I love the change that they added the removers, but I wish it was always gold. It was a gold remover regardless, as it would make slamming a lot easier. I know there's some strategy involved with it, only having a certain amount of removers. But yeah, it's just in this game here, I was struggling with removers as I kind of wanted to move different things back and forth, like the Shojin on Brand or Manazane on Brand, and I just kind of ran out. Now, interesting thing here, we did lose that last round. Because we lost that last round, we ended up going down to 1 life. Because we only had 1 life, I made the decision of going 9 with the gold that I currently had. The reason why I did that is because I didn't want to bleed out and lose the game with gold in my pocket. Because of that, I went 9 and was able to put in a 1-star Renekton. And now for the rest of the game, we just donkey roll. We secured points here. Don't mind the thumbnail zoom-ins here. But we secured points, so I was happy with points, especially with this build, getting lucky without an econ augment. So with that in mind, I did go 9 there as quickly as possible, just to risk not losing that last round before the PvE round. We needed that win to secure the points, and yeah, now at this point, after the stage, I just donkey roll to try to get a 2-star Kobuko, 2-star Renekton. We ended up, I believe, finishing 3rd here. We got our 2-star Kobuko, but I think we faced just somebody completely stronger. That guy with 69 health, level 10 is just way too strong. So that's the end of the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you made it this far, how this build's faring for you. And you can always like the video, helps support me a lot. And subscribe if you want more meta news, up-to-date content, everything TFT related. We're getting close to set 15. So if you're excited for that, make sure you subscribe below. And as always, good luck on the grind. I'll catch you next time. Take care. Just kidding, I'm back. We didn't actually finish 3rd place like I mentioned. We ended up beating this 1st place guy here for that round. Spoiler alert, we do end up losing to them. It was a 5 amp build, not a street demon build, but it just shows you the potential against a 2-star Samira. So you can, like I mentioned in the early part of the video, go 7 street demon at level 8 and then just stay 7 street demon if you get a 2-star Samira and a 2-star brand and you don't want to go the Cyberboss route. But this shows the potential of how strong a 2-star Kobuko is with the Cyberboss buff. So we're facing even Exotech here with a 2-star Aurora in the backline, and it's not even a competition. We completely destroy them. Having a look at their augments, they didn't really have good combat augments, so that could be the difference also. We had 1 combat augment with binary airdrop, but spoiler alert, we do eventually lose to that amp build. However, it just shows you how strong the 2-star Kobuko is, as they themselves have a 2-star Kobuko and a Ziggs on the board. So there are different variations of this build you can go, and it can win you the game, get you points, get you second. It all depends how your game is actually going, how it's faring, what characters you're getting or units you're getting, and the overall tempo of the game. So that's just what I want to come back and let you know of. We kind of lose here, so enjoy the rest of this. And oh, do we lose? Yeah, we do lose. Yeah, we lost. That was a lot closer than I thought. Anyway, have a good one.